This first tip may seem like a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised how many motion designers don't stick to a solid project template structure. And I'm not just talking about inside After Effects. I'm talking about the project structure of your folder before you bring everything in. Feel free to download this folder structure below. So these are the steps I take when setting up a new project. I first copy my project template copy folder, and then I change the name to the project I'm working on. Inside this folder, I have export, project, assets, audio, ref, fonts, and miscellaneous folders, and I have them numbered by priority because export is usually the first one that I want to go to if I need to copy a link or send it to a client. So I have export at the top. Project is the next important. Obviously, it's the project you're building. This is where you're going to save your After Effects projects. And then assets, these are the things I'm bringing into my project that they will link to. So videos, graphics, visual effects, those sorts of things. Audio you can put in assets. I keep it separate because usually I'm usually dealing with audio later in the project anyway, so I keep those separate. And I have sound effects and music in there. If you're working with a temp track, sometimes I'll put a folder for temp and a folder for final. Reference would be my concept sketches and my animatic if I'm using one. That's where I would put those. And then fonts, pretty straightforward. Miscellaneous, sometimes I'll put maybe notes from the client in there or other things like style guides and other kinds of references from the client. So it's pretty straightforward, but it's kind of amazing how many people do not do this. But it will save you time and energy just having this copy on your desktop wherever you're setting up your project. So I highly recommend doing that. So now let's open After Effects. So I have this project here, and I have sort of a similar structure in the project window where exports are at the top, and these are the timelines that I'm going to be exporting from. So your pre-comps would be below, and because you don't want to get it too crowded. And I stick with a similar naming convention every time so I don't confuse myself. It's usually client _ project _ type if it's a video, an animatic, a GIF, something like that, underscore, and then version. And then I have my pre-comps under here. I have my assets, audio, graphics, different imported projects. Sometimes if I'm working with a client that I've worked before and I'm using reusable assets from other After Effects projects, I will save those out separately and then bring those in. So I do this a lot with characters and end cards and intros as well. And also logo animations sometimes you'll get from clients will come to you as an After Effects project. Very helpful when they do that. Doesn't always happen, but it's exciting when it does. And then visual effects, if you're bringing any kind of stock, that sort of thing, can go in there. You could do images too if you're working with maybe background images from a stock source. And then reference, same thing, my concept sketches. Sometimes I will build my animatic or my reference video if I'm working with like a temp VO or something and we want to send it to the client just for timing. I'll build that out in there. And then solids. So, seems pretty straightforward again. But it's kind of amazing how much time I do save by just setting up these things exactly. If something breaks, like say I move a graphic into a video folder or something outside of After Effects and it breaks and I need to go searching for it, it's actually pretty easy for me to find by going back into my project folder and figuring out, it was moved to the wrong folder, I'll move it back, I'll relink it, that sort of thing. And by doing it this way, it's actually really easy for you to just compress and send a client at the end in case they want your project files. So everything will be perfectly linked because nothing exists outside of this project folder. So now that you've seen how I've set up my project window, let's look at my timeline. So as you can see, in After Effects, I do have every layer that has a label. Character 1, Character 2, the end, text mask, we have the logo graphics, and these will have a little bit more information probably when you have more complexity, like scene 1 background, scene 2 background. From there, if you have adjustment layers over here, I would just say BG adjustment layer, anything to give you sort of an indication of what it's connected to. And then more importantly, my character animations have the labels. Yes, it does take a lot of time to label eyes, head, neck, left arm, left calf, right calf, but it's going to save time to find these things. I can't stress enough how important it is to label your layers. You don't know who's going to be touching this after you. I mean, it's very possible that you're a freelancer and you don't give out your project files. Okay, fine. If something happened to you, though, then no one would be able to find anything if you have nothing labeled or organized. So if you are working with a team, you'll know that sometimes we pass projects back and forth. Sometimes if I finish an animation, I need to send it to someone to do the localizing or the resizing. And it's going to save them time being able to navigate my project correctly and quickly. So I try to put as much information as possible to make this as easy as possible for them to navigate. And that includes labeling my layers and sticking to an actual system. So please, please, please label everything.